Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and marketing expert covering Disney. Disney's having an emergency. They're bringing back their former executives, Tom Staggs and Kevin Mayer, to help fix ABC, ESPN, and the rest of the mess at Disney. Disney needs these guys. Of anyone and everyone they could bring into the company to try to deal with the emergencies they're having, because it's not just one emergency, these would be the two guys to do it. Let's get into the story. Before we do, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate you. I'm trying to get to 30,000 subscribers, so if you can subscribe, please do subscribe. Disney's stock is actually up on this news, so it's important news for Wall Street, and it could represent the beginning of a turnaround for Disney. But they have a lot of problems, and it may not be possible to turn them around. I still consider them to be a very risky company. At the same time, there is about $100 billion of value trapped in the mismanagement of Bob Iger that, if the right managers were involved, could be Kevin Mayer and Tom Staggs, the company could actually be fixed. Let's get into the story from Puck.News. These are the guys that broke the news. Matt Belloni is a guy who used to be a head editor over at Hollywood Reporter. Puck.News is his platform. It is accurate news. He does have a good relationship with Disney. I have gone back and forth with him a little bit on Twitter, and he seems to be a very knowledgeable guy. Iger brings back his old era parents. Kevin Mayer and Tom Staggs have both been engaged individually to consult with Iger, ESPN chief Jimmy Pitaro, and others at Disney. And this must have been what's been going on at Disney that we heard about first in the July 13th interview that CNBC had with Bob Iger. All of a sudden, Bob Iger was saying, oh, maybe it's not core to Disney for us to have these linear TV networks. Maybe we don't need ABC or Nat Geo. Perhaps we need an investor for ESPN, and it can be any kind of partner at ESPN, depending on the value they bring to the deal. Before Iger brought back Kevin Mayer and Tom Staggs, he wasn't talking this way. It's got to be these two guys trying to be the brain trust for Iger and help him figure out what to do over at Disney. Bob Iger signaled a lot about Disney's future in that CNBC interview from Sun Valley, including that he's open to selling linear TV networks and that he's hunting for a strategic partner for ESPN. What Iger didn't mention is that he's enlisted two of his former right-hand men to help him in that endeavor. Puck.News is told that Kevin Mayer and Tom Staggs have both been engaged individually by Disney to consult with Iger, ESPN chief Jimmy Pitaro, and others on the future of the linear properties and how they intersect with Disney's streaming strategy. Disney and a rep for Mayer and Staggs declined to comment. It should be noted that Kevin Mayer helped to launch Disney Plus, and he didn't just kind of help, he was in charge of it. The reason that Disney Plus launched was because of Kevin Mayer. He's very sharp, and if they can get his help at Disney, if it's fixable, he'll fix it. This news will no doubt fire up Disney watchers because Mayer and Staggs were both previously positioned as Iger's successors as CEO of Disney and have been mentioned as possible CEOs when or if Iger finally abdicates his mouse throne in 2026. Remember, Mayer was an architect of Disney's big-ticket mergers and acquisitions portfolio and its direct-to-consumer strategy before bolting for TikTok in 2020. Staggs was Iger's CFO, Parks chief, and chief operating officer before being passed over for the top job of CEO and leaving in 2016. It's also interesting because Candle Media, the Blackstone-backed content roll-up company that Mayer and Staggs launched in 2021 and still run to this day, has been acquiring Disney-friendly content studios, including Moonbug Entertainment, purveyor of YouTube and Netflix kids sensation Coco Melon, as well as Reese Witherspoon's Hello Sunshine. Who knows? Maybe Iger would even buy Moonbug or all of Candle Media to bring Mayer and Staggs into the company with it, though Disney doesn't seem to be in an IP acquisition mode these days, and Candle's thesis has come under scrutiny. When he says Candle's thesis has come under scrutiny, meaning does the business model really work or not? Iger would buy Candle Media in 2 seconds to get control of Kevin Mayer and Tom Staggs. I don't know that they'd want to sell, But if there was a couple of extra billion here or there, which Disney could certainly pay, I'm sure they'd be very motivated to take it. Kevin Mayer has talked in the past about working for Disney as CEO. This is from March 15th, 2023, very recent. Kevin Mayer will, quote, see what happens amid Disney's CEO speculation. Mayer would like very much to be CEO. They're currently co-CEOs of Candle Media. Taking a look at Candle Media, because it's interesting to see when these two guys have their own platform, what do they do with it? Are they woke? Are they not woke? And as far as woke or not, it's only a matter of trying to understand, will they do right by the franchises or will they excessively push representation at the expense of the franchises? Really, if somebody was to come into Disney, take out all the excessive representation nonsense and just honor what each of the brands are really all about, it would have a chance to do good business again. As it stands, parents, families, many people won't even give Disney a look at anything that they're doing because of their nonsensical woke representation. It's the same thing as the Dylan Mulvaney on the Bud Light can controversy. Don't sell me your progressive agenda. Just try to sell me the product. Would Kevin Mayer and Tom Staggs return Disney to be focused on content instead of focused on pushing representation? You can look at their website. You can see who their team is. You can see if they're focused on diversity. They have a couple of diverse people, it looks like, as part of their staff, but they're not obsessed with it. They don't have a commitment to diversity. They don't have a big statement talking about how what's really important is not our brands, but how we're incorporating in different races. They don't talk about any of that stuff, which of course is not something that Blackstone, when they're looking for a return on investment, cares about. When companies like Blackstone or BlackRock or State Street start pushing companies to act more woke, they do that without concern for return on investment. When they're putting out hundreds of millions of dollars to finance a company that they need a return on investment from, they won't do that. The relationship with Blackstone that Kevin Mayer and Tom Staggs have is also helpful to Disney because Disney is going to be looking at selling assets. There's no question they're not going to sell some assets. They will not sell intellectual property. And anybody telling you that they're going to sell Star Wars or sell Marvel, I would be absolutely shocked if they did that because the numbers are still relatively small in comparison to other big assets like ABC. Currently, ABC itself is worth about $8 billion. Does that fit with the future of Disney? Probably not. So it's those kinds of assets they would sell. Also, once Disney would start selling intellectual properties, people would wonder, like, well, if you're going to sell the intellectual properties, what's really left at Disney? Iger does have a history of very effectively, and I can criticize Iger all day long, but he is a very good salesman, and he was able to talk Steve Jobs out of Pixar and then take their management very effectively, utilize them to fix Disney's poorly managed animation division. He took executives out of Pixar, put them into Disney Animation, which they were very happy to do, and they came and they fixed Disney Animation. So why not take Candle Media, get a hold of these two executives again, pay them whatever they want, it doesn't matter, and let these executives bring their attitudes and their way of business and their way of operating to Disney, and then let them fix all of Disney's problems. Iger absolutely cannot fix Disney's problems. Iger is not a manager. He's a salesman. He's a politician. And I don't say those two things with any disrespect. Those are the two things he knows how to do. Sell, and he knows how to be a politician. He's been very successful at that. That's how he got a hold of Marvel, of Lucasfilm. How would you get a property away from Steve Jobs? You would call Bob Iger to do it. He was successful in doing it. But he can't run the businesses, and the businesses are kind of all over the place. They have problems in theme parks. They have problems with their theatrical films. They have problems with their streaming services. All of those problems are really basic operational problems, but they're not problems that Bob Iger even seems to understand. None of his history in businesses points to him being able to operate businesses well. However, Kevin Mayer, Tom Staggs have both done it. In fact, Tom Staggs, previous chief operating officer. I mean, what more would you really need except these two guys? I still think that Disney is very risky. I think that Bob Iger needs to get the heck out of the way. But this is the most and literally only positive thing to happen for Disney since Guardians of the Galaxy basically did not flop. Everything else has been negative, and it's been kind of shocking to me and left me wondering, when are they actually going to do something that makes sense, as the company obviously continues to collapse, as I've covered in a number of previous videos about Disney. They can't just sit there and let the pieces fall off the company, or sell off this piece or sell off that piece, and have nothing positive or optimistic about the future. If Bob Iger stays quiet and he can get Kevin Mayer and Tom Staggs back at the company, then Disney has a good shot. Disney in June, this article's from June 13th, got rid of their chief financial officer. Almost, it was kind of apparently for no reason. Apparently she was clashing with some of the top executives. She wanted to push more layoffs. Iger didn't want to push layoffs. Layoffs are good for cutting expenses and for trying to get your expenses more in line with what your revenues realistically are. In Disney's case, it started to look more and more like they really weren't going to ever again be able to justify doing top quality movies, because their revenues on their movies were just so terrible. So why would you operate Marvel separately from operating Lucasfilm? They're basically just producing woke garbage anyway. So why can't you do that in one office, essentially, or one major division with your intellectual properties, rather than having these multiple divisions? The answer to that is, if you could return the company to having unique, individual, powerful brands and identities, then sure, keep them separate. Let them develop their own personality about how they do things. Pixar as well. It has its own campus. Let it continue to have its own campus. Christine McCarthy, the CFO of Disney, didn't feel that way. She wanted to see a lot of layoffs. To me, that made a lot of sense too. However, sure, if you can get new competent management at Disney to replace Bob Iger, I mean, it's not even replacing Bob Iger as much as have somebody in there who understands content, who understands how to run these businesses, managing them again, like Kevin Mayer and Tom Staggs, then it makes sense to let them continue the way they're operating in separate divisions. As long as Kevin Mayer and Tom Staggs see it that way, I wouldn't dispute what those guys think, not until I saw some bad results once they had a lot more authority and they could start actually doing things. I think the reason that the Puck News article that broke the news about Mayer and Staggs coming back is focused on dealing with the linear TV channels and getting an investor for ESPN, is because that's really what the major problem is. ESPN has a very serious problem right now because it keeps getting less and less revenue. ESPN Plus has subscribers, but it's not really working as a standalone business. So there needs to be some kind of strategic thought about how you're going to fix that business. Iger clearly can't do that on his own. These are the major problems that are facing Disney right now. It's not even the problem where the movies aren't making money. They can lose $1 billion a year on bad movies, but they do need to figure out what's going to happen with ESPN, because they have more than 1,000 employees dedicated to ESPN. They have expensive contracts with the sports leagues. They really need to get that business fixed. And that's what the real emergency is today at Disney. That's the worst problem. However, once Mayer and Staggs help Iger to fix whatever's going on with ESPN, I'm sure they'll utilize these guys as the fixers for the rest of the company. And I would expect these guys to take control of the company together. Currently, they are co-CEOs for Candle Media. No reason they shouldn't be co-CEOs for Disney. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.